What's going on, you beautiful human? You're listening to the Spiritual Show podcast from thespiritualroom.co. This podcast is a space where we blend ancient wisdom with new age teachings around spirituality, awakening, quantum physics, astrology, and more. Join us for weekly episodes where we dive deep into this truth and expand our consciousness as a collective. Hey, what's going on, you beautiful light being? My name is Danielle Grant, and I'll be your guide on today's spiritual show. Today on our show, I am welcoming you to the year 2022. Yes, it is not quite yet. Maybe you're listening to it and it is 2022. But if you didn't get the memo, this year is going to be chaotic, challenging, transformative, expansive, and new. It's time to throw out the old approach to New Year's resolutions and try leveraging your soul to align with the desires that are true to you, also known as your New Year's resolutions, and also known as your inner self's chance to hit, reset, and expand. If you feel someone could benefit from learning about the more spiritual approach to New Year's resolutions, please share this episode with them, share it in your stories or in your content. All right, let's rock and roll into today's show. This podcast is brought to you by The Spiritual Room. The Spiritual Room is a high vibe container helping you awaken, deepen, and expand your knowledge of the spiritual self. The Spiritual Room is your space to feel supported as you awaken to your highest self as we navigate the energies towards the new earth, an earth of higher consciousness. Every month, the Spiritual Room hosts free and paid offerings to support your spiritual awakening and ascension journey. Head to www.thespiritualroom.co to check out what they have going on this month. At the time of this recording, it is currently the end of 2021, but we are about to move into year 2022, and it honestly doesn't matter when you listen to this episode, the information is still going to be relevant whenever you come across this podcast. But there's a couple things that we can expect moving into 2022. And this actual expectation that I'm talking about is something that has been on the forefront and upcoming for a very long time. There's been a lot of conversation about this change in our life, about this awakening, about ourselves transcending beyond these lower vibrational grids and into higher vibrational grids. And so this year, 2022, we've been waiting for a long time. And if you're in the spiritual community, which you are because you listen to this, then you are most likely aware of the year 2012 when a lot of people started to tune in and a lot more consciousness started to come onto planet Earth. This was also known as the end of the Mayan calendar, but this was really just a shift in consciousness. This was a shift in us awakening more. But that's happened in 2012. Fast forward 10 years, that whole 10 years, if you actually do a reflection back on your own spiritual journey, has been a 10 years, a decade of awakening, of ascending, of absorbing more of this information. Even you for yourself can see that. So with that being said, at the end of a decade time period, and normally if you look at things in astrology or things that track energies of the planet, they tend to work in decade or century style cycles. For whatever reason, I have no idea why, but that just seems to be what it is. So we're actually moving out of the last 10 years, and the last 10 years were these years of awakening. I said it's been 10 years, but it's only, it's 2022. It's 10 years. I'm like, well, I can't even do math in my head. But it has been 10 years. And so we're actually coming up to a new cycle. And this cycle right now is more important than ever. I don't need to tell you that because of the current climate that we're in. You just open up your eyeballs and take a look outside, and we're in some chaos. This is happening because we've gone through a 10-year time period of awakening. So today I really want to help you understand you are actually not even in the same place that you've ever been in energetically, no matter who you are or what level of spiritual awakening or ascension you're on. I have never experienced what we are about to experience. These are all new, higher, potent, vibrational energies that we now get because we all started to turn on for the last 10 years. This is like the reward that we get. So this year, 2022, is really important that the way that you look at your so-called New Year's resolutions, because this is actually like a launch, a diving board, so to speak, that your soul is being asked. It's kind of like you can visualize, which is so methodical, but you can visualize like a group of us that are all waiting for our turn to get to the top of the diving board in the high dive. And we're waiting to get to the top, and then we can jump. And most of us are scared shitless to jump because we're like, oh my God, are we going to make it? Are we going to live? Like, what's happening? But when you jump, that's when you actually meet your soul. And so that is the kind of experience that you're in right now. Are you willing to jump from the last decade of a massive shift in consciousness and jump that much more into the next ascension, the next expansion, the next energy of your soul? That is the question that you're being asked, specifically when it comes to resolutions. Because here's the thing. Most of the time we create resolutions because that's what society's told us to do. It's like the beginning of the year and you want to like clean up your life and that's the time to do it. And you do it at the end of Christmas season or holiday season, whatever. That's what we've come to know. But those are really linear concepts. Like New Year's resolutions are linear concepts. They're very third dimensional, not multi-dimensional concepts. And so when you still operate from those, especially as an awakened being, you're actually holding yourself back because you're operating too much in your ego side, in your lower dimensional side. And that's why we have to shift, especially in this year of 2022. We have to shift from this idea of New Year's resolutions into this idea of a New Year ascension, a New Year embodiment. I don't even really care for the term New Year because it already trips your subconscious mind up. So if you can already take it out, then take it out. But it's the year of you becoming more of who you really are. It is the year of you becoming more of who you really are. And I'm about to share with you kind of exactly what you can expect in 2022. And one of the things I want to highlight right now, though, is just showing you the difference in setting an intention for your linear self and versus setting an intention for your higher self, your conscious self, your dimensional self. When you, and this is a classic one, when you set a resolution to lose weight, to change something in your body, whether it's physical or whether it's your eating, when you decide to do this as a resolution, it is a very linear concept. Very linear concept. Because in reality, your ego mind your conscious mind doesn't actually care what your body looks like. Honestly, it doesn't actually care because in our highest state, in our conscious state, there's neutrality. There's no attachment or detachment. I need to look this way or I'm not good enough or whatever it is. But that's a really linear intention, right? Very linear resolution. Whereas if you shift that resolution from needing to focus on your body and more so focused on how can I love myself more in the gym? How can I love myself more in the mirror? How can I love myself more when I eat the bad food? That is a very dimensional resolution because it is not about you actually changing the physique of your body so you can look a certain way, which is most likely why you created that resolution to begin with. It is for you to actually change the way that you perceive yourself through that process. And that is the actual spiritual growth. And I highlighted that today because when you think about setting your 2022 intentions, resolutions, you want to think about that. Am I, and this is the first part of you getting ready and having more of a spiritual approach, are you setting resolutions and intentions that are very linear and very 3D and very egotistical? I'm doing this because I want to look a certain way so I can get a different emotion so people will look at me differently. Are you making stuff like that? Or are you genuinely making them around things that expand your soul, right? Reading. People want to read more. I love that people want to read more. But are you reading more just to say that you're reading more? Or are you genuinely wanting to read the thing that you're reading? Because if it's a linear intention, then you're reading it just to read it because that's what people are telling you to do and you think that that's what you should do and you think that you're going to be a smarter person and a better person because you read books. Okay, you will be. But the opposite of that is not. You want to read it for the wisdom. You want to read it because it improves your reading. You want to read it because the more new information you get, the more expanded your soul can get. See how that's a dimensional intention versus a very linear intention. So the first part of being more spiritual with your resolutions or intentions around the new year is to get rid of the ones that are linear. And if you have one around the fitness, and I always use this one because a lot of people want it, which is fine. You're allowed to have it. But when you look at that one and you look at the dimensional side of it, the dimensional side of it needs to be about your beliefs and your thoughts and the way that you actually respond to how you're working out or you're not working out or when you eat the healthy food and you don't eat the healthy food. That's the expanded version of your resolution or your intention. That's a dimensional version. So I'm not saying necessarily get rid of it. What I'm saying is to expand on what you've created that it's linear, right? Reading books, eating healthy, saving money, having better relationships, doing a triathlon, like whatever it is that you set for yourself. Those are very linear ways, which is fine. But then ask yourself, does this really align with my soul or is this aligning linearly? Right? Does this align with my soul, which is a dimensional being, or is this aligning with me linearly? If that's too much, then Does my soul get fired up about this? Or do I feel like there's more resistance with this? It's really simple. Ask yourself those questions and then transcend them. Then look and go, okay, do I still need these? If I do, how do I expand them to be more about the emotion and the thought and the attachment and detachment and the whole experience about it, not just the end result? That is how you expand on it. So just wanted to start today's episode with that being more of the spiritual approach, because I've been there. I've been there where I had the same New Year's resolutions year after year after year, and I didn't get them. And then I changed a bunch of things in my life. I changed my habits. I've referenced this on the podcast before. I don't know if I did it on this one or not, but I have another podcast that maybe I did it on. But I was talking about how I started to change the way I tracked my habits. And then I started to change my beliefs. And then I altogether changed what I was actually trying to do. It was no longer about losing 15 pounds and reading 10 books and saving $10,000 and doing all these crazy things. It was actually about me changing my vibration and my frequency around all of those things. And when I started doing that, that's when my life really changed, because now I was operating more from my soul intentions rather than my ego human intentions, my linear intentions. So that's the first thing that you want to do. The second thing that you want to do, and gratefully we live in this beautiful space now where we have a bunch of people who channel energies and channel information. Some could say that I do that as well. And what the channelers do is they help you understand the energies. They help you understand the energies that are coming not only on the planet right now, because we're all made of energy, but they also help you understand what's coming through what's coming in astrology and just the way the planets are moving, because they basically are the puppeteers of our life, or the planets and the energies. And so we can actually tap into people who say, listen, this year on 2022, based on how everything is lined up and based on the signs that we're in and all this stuff, these are the kind of energies that we are going to be experiencing. And for a long time, people thought that was woo-woo, and so they didn't really consider it. But you're not, you're awake, you're paying attention. And so it's important that you tap into those kind of people. One of them is Lee Carroll on YouTube, and he does a phenomenal job. The other one is, and I've talked about her on the podcast, is Molly McCord. She does more of the astrology stuff. And Lee does more of the overarching energies that we're experiencing. But it's important that you listen to these people and tap into what the energies are, because again, we just talked about moving from a linear reality, which would be not looking at these energies and completely ignoring them, and moving into more of our dimensional reality, dimensional resolutions and intentions. To get the most out of that, you want to understand the energies that are going on. And so you want to be following these people because they kind of give you a little preview of what you're going to experience. That way, then when you're in it, you don't feel so stifled by it. And I do this on the podcast all the time. I bring in their energy channels and I share it with you so that you guys are on that page. But one of the things that we are realizing right now is, like I said, 2022 is a very transformative year. We've never seen this level of consciousness. We've never seen this much awakening. Like when I say this to you, Mother Earth, Gaia really hasn't seen this for a very long time. This is ultimately what we came here for in these human experiences, reincarnation after reincarnation, is to actually transcend Earth from a lower vibrational grid and into a higher vibrational grid. And the only way that we can do that is by having beings, entities that sway it, that influence it. And that's all of us. And here we are. We're doing it. We're in it. Can you believe it? It's crazy. But that being said, the energies of 2022 are going to bring change. Okay? Change. When change happens, there's going to be chaos in any aspect of your life. You're seeing it right now across the political landscape in the world. When change comes, there's chaos. Don't run from it. Know that there has to be chaos to clear the lower vibrational energies. There has to be, otherwise they don't go away, right? There has to be something so intense that they shake them away. So be prepared for the change and the chaos, and they come both together, right? It's like you open up the envelope that says change on it, and you open up the piece of paper and it says chaos. And you're like, oh, I don't want that piece of paper, put it back in. It don't work like that. Just be aware of it. The other part is transformation. Through transformation, you're going to lead into expansion. Right? So if you are in a place of change, then you are feeling chaotic. And through that space, you're in a place of transformation. And through that, you're in a place of expansion, right? The other thing that you're going to experience is dark to light. We're seeing it right now. The darker, lower vibrational energies and thoughts and beliefs are being brought up right now to clear the collective shadow. I talked about this on a couple episodes ago. So we're moving from dark to light. But again, to go from dark to light, we have to go through change and chaos. We have to go through transformation and expansion. And then we can transcend the dark to the light. The next part of that is the 3D to 4D. We are moving from 3D to 4D. In fact, we're most likely already there. We're also moving from 4D to 5D. So those of us that are moving from the 3D to 4D reality, which is nothing more than the rate at which your being vibrates at due to what you believe to be true and all your experiences and your healing work, you are transcending between 3 to 4D. And yes, some people aren't going to make it, which means they're not necessarily going to leave Earth. They're just going to continue to live in a 3D reality. Just means that their vibrations are going to stay there differently. They're not going to be as transcended and as high frequency as they could be. But most people are moving from 3D to 4D, right? And then there's some of us that are moving from 4D to 5D and 5D and beyond, just is all at which we vibrate at. But this is really important because, again, without that change, transformation, and the dark to the light, we can't go from 3D, 4D, and 5D. So these are all things that you can expect. I'm telling you them because don't sit back and think you're going to be sitting on the beach drinking pina coladas, suntan, and reading your book. You know what I mean? Like, you have to understand that we are in a massive change right now, and there is going to be change. But it doesn't need to be as hard as we're making it. Because if we can see and understand that that kind of change is coming and it's kind of intense, we already know it's there. The ego has already presented that idea. It's when the ego has no idea that it's coming, and then it's in it, and it gets so confused, it doesn't know how to behave, it starts behaving really weird. But you're listening, you know it's coming. So just lean into it when it arrives. Lean into the change and the transformation and the darkness. Lean into it. See it. Don't attach to it. Oh, okay, yeah, that's uncomfortable. Yeah, I didn't like that. Oh, look at that thing I need to heal. Whoa, look at that thing that's challenging me. Very neutral, right? Very, very neutral. And the last thing is meeting your intuition on a heightened level. You are going to start to meet your intuition, your higher self, your conscious self on a heightened level. As you become more in tune and you move away from the linear way of living, which is the New Year's resolutions concept, and move more into this expanded version of spiritual practices, spiritual approaches, more grounded in what is, you're going to hear more of your intuitive self. You're going to hear more of that conversation with your inner self. You're already hearing it now, by the way. You already hear that little voice. You already know who it is. I don't have to tell you about it. But more of it starts to come through. More of it starts to come through. And that's where the fun happens, because if you're a business owner or someone in a leadership role or something like that, you become more optimized the more that you actually listen to this aspect of you. Like, you become the best version of yourself, and that radiates to everybody around you, every single person around you. But this could also be if you're doing your resolutions and you're doing the gym one and it's still superficial, and you hear this call of like, hey, that's probably not going to serve you, Danielle. That goal is really misaligned. It's very linear. If I ignore that voice, well, that's not going to serve me. But you're hearing that voice as well. And the more that you do that, which is take the spiritual approach, the more that you're going to hear the intuitive self. And the intuitive self guides you to take many actions, tells you it can sometimes, if it's loud enough and you can be in tune with it, it can help you move away from accidents or things that don't serve you. But the year of 2022 is going to allow you to meet more of your intuitive self, more of your conscious self. And that's just like so exciting, because I will tell you, as someone who's met this aspect of me, man, she is the bomb diggity. Like, she is way better than me. Like, maybe not way better than me, but she is, or he, or whatever the energy is just like phenomenal. Like, no fear. Like, I want to awaken and I want to support and I want to be there. Like, just bold and courageous. I am not at 100% at that level, but when I channel more of that version of me, my life shifts. I know that version of me is there. I've met that version of me inside. I hear her when she tells me to do things that are extremely scary. And I think, well, what are you telling me to do? And then I take action, and it's the very thing that I needed to do. So if we're talking about this idea of moving away from the linearity of New Year's resolutions and what the beginning of the year is all about, ground yourself in this idea that I'm being like launched into these new energies, and it's up to me getting this information to know how to navigate them, to keep myself grounded, and to make sure that I truly am getting the most out of this year. And I'm not getting stuck in the 3D grid. I'm not getting stuck in the linearity of it. So again, change, chaos, transformation, expansion, dark to light, 3D, 4D, 5D, and meeting your intuition on a heightened level. So how can you get the most out of this year being more of a spiritual approach? Being more of the spiritual being that you are? Well, for starters, is you want to be more soul-led. You want to be more soul-led, which is exactly what I just talked about, moving away from those linear resolutions and intentions and moving more into the dimensional ones. The biggest thing that you're going to feel led towards, and I've talked about this already on this podcast, is the spiritual practices. The spiritual practices of meditation, of mindfulness, of journaling, of doing moon ceremonies, of doing gratitude practices. You are going to feel extremely called to do those things. And if you aren't doing them, your soul is going to keep putting you in situations until you realize that you need to do them, in which case you're probably going to be in a very uncomfortable situation. But just remember that you put yourself there because you didn't actually listen to your intuition. You didn't actually take the time to do the things you needed to do to develop a spiritual practice. The spiritual practice is what allows that intuitive self to come through. It's really, really important that you tap into this. What is my soul asking of me? Is it wanting me to learn how to journal? Is it wanting me to learn how to meditate? Is it wanting me to live more mindfully? Is it wanting me to actually take action on that gratitude practice? What is your soul asking of you? And again, this is a great opportunity for you to tap in and drop into your intuition. How do I be more spiritual led in my New Year's resolutions? They're not going to be superficial resolutions. They're going to be very spiritual resolutions. And they could be reading books, like spiritual books or whatever. The second thing is, think of this as your mission. Like, you need to connect to your mission. Your mission always has been and forever will be to understand that you're a spiritual being having a human experience. And if you're a spiritual being having a human experience, then there's all kinds of things your human needs to awaken to. Remember what your mission is. Your mission is to transcend the ego beliefs and thoughts, which is the 3D reality, and move into a higher level of consciousness. But if you forget that that's your mission, then you don't do the work that allows you to get there, like the soul practices. So remember, this is your mission. What is my mission for 2022 as this higher spiritual being that is trying to come through and absolutely change my life so that I can start to get all the desires that I want, so that I can start to receive everything that's in my vortex. The third thing is learn to lean into your emotions and thoughts. Learn to lean into your emotions and thoughts. That day you don't want to take action on that thing that you set that resolution for. Lean into that discomfort. Lean into the voice that's telling you no. Lean into the thing that's telling you you don't need to do it. Lean into it. And what I mean by lean into it is explore it. Become very curious about it. Oh, I hear that voice right now that's telling me that I probably don't need to get my workout in, but I know that I should get my workout in. So let me just explore why this voice is showing up. Why do I feel this way? What's going on in my day-to-day? Why do I feel like I don't have time? Why do I feel like I don't need to do it? Why do I feel like I'd be better off if I didn't do it, even though you know you just beat yourself up over it? Lean into your emotions and thoughts. Look at them. Become aware to them. The fourth thing is to seek spiritual guidance. If you're listening to this podcast, you're seeking spiritual guidance. If you're checking out the spiritualroom.co, you're seeking spiritual guidance. If you are doing any part of that, seeking any sort of spiritual guidance, you're on YouTube, you're reading books, you're going to seminars, you're whatever, you need to be seeking spiritual guidance in the year of 2022. This is very, very important. This kind of goes hand in hand with the spiritual practice. The fifth thing is practice mindfulness daily. This isn't something that's just done in a meditative state. This is done in your waking day. As you're in your challenging moments, are you being mindful? Are you aware of the negative emotions that you're feeling? Are you aware to the emotions that you're feeling in conversations with people? Practice mindfulness daily. And again, the more that you practice this through a meditative state, through a mindful meditation or something like that, the more that these patterns and behaviors actually start to become your new normal and you just live in a mindful state. Number 6, find an accountability soul. Notice how I didn't say find an accountability partner. Find an accountability soul. Find someone who's on the same page as you that wants to make change or wants to go to the next level or whatever it is, and say, hey, I want to support you. Do you want to support me? Let's figure out a way to do this and let's keep each other accountable. If you do that and you find someone who's more like-minded than you, than just anyone who's been struggling or whatever, or really isn't that committed, then you're going to find yourself accountable. If you kind of keep going to your default, like an app or the same thing or the same program or whatever it is, that's linear. There you are being linear again, right? Find that soul that you align with. Find that other being. They're there for you. You're just not asking for the universe to deliver it or receive it. But that soul who can really help you be accountable is there for you. And yeah, there are programs that you can buy, and maybe there's a new program that you need to buy. I don't know. Maybe you want to check out the Mindfulness Playbook class. It has an accountability part in it. But find yourself an accountability soul, and don't just pick anyone. Pick something or someone that resonates with you, that you feel connected with, that is truly like-minded and has the same goal or vision or intention as you. That's a really important part. Don't just do it to do it. Like, tune in again, right? Be more soul-led. Listen to what your soul's saying. It's probably guiding you to something or some person. Tap into that. Tune into that. The 7th thing is to set some affirmations for your soul to be led. People really laugh at affirmations. But if you come to learn about frequency and vibration, it's all about how you feel. And manifestation law of attraction is all about how you feel. Well, your thoughts are all about how you feel. And if you don't introduce new affirmations that can change some of those linear thoughts that are distorted and low vibrational, it's going to be very difficult. So I'm going to give you some affirmations shortly here that you can use. But ultimately, again, be more soul-led. Set up some affirmations for yourself. You don't have to change them every week, every month. You can use the same ones the whole entire year if you want. I mean, I would encourage you to change them up because the ego loves consistency and stagnation or the same thing over and over again. So I would encourage every quarter or something to change them up. But set some affirmations for yourself. And it doesn't need to be about the goal necessarily, which you'll see shortly in the affirmations I'm going to share. But This is all about changing your vibration and frequency. And if you don't create them and then introduce them every day, you're not going to see the shift. It's just that simple, right? That's the linear way of doing it. I'm going to create the affirmations. I'm going to put them on the wall. I'm actually never going to look at them for the rest of the time they're on my wall, but I know that they're on my wall. That's a linear way of doing your resolutions, or the linear way of doing your affirmations, whatever. Move beyond that place, okay? Move beyond that place. If you're going to set affirmations for yourself, be soul-led and look at them every day. And if you find yourself moving away from them, they're not resonating. Find new ones. If they resonate with you, you want to read them every day. That is one clear indicator. Okay, and the last thing, which I kind of just briefly touched on, is quarterly soul check-ins. It's important that you check in on yourself. You know, people kind of wait till the end of the year and then they're like, oh, I didn't get any of my linear resolutions done. It's like, well, no shit. You need to check in. How am I doing? Am I checking my affirmations? Do they resonate? Am I being soul-led? Am I practicing my spiritual practices? Am I tuning in? Am I experiencing what Danielle talked about, the energies? What is going on? Quarterly soul check-ins. Very, very important. So I'm going to share with you guys 13 affirmations that you can use as you move into the new earth energies of 2022, because that's what this is. We are birthing a new earth. We're birthing new energies. That's why there's change and chaos and transformation and expansion. But these 13 affirmations, you can use them. You can not use them. You can expand on them. You can do whatever you want. Number 1, I know myself. Number 2, I honor my boundaries. Number 3, I radiate with confidence. Number 4, I am creative. Number 5, my best is enough. Number 6, I love myself. Number 7, my body does not define me. Number 8, I nourish myself. Number 9, I'm true to myself. Number 10, I'm worthy of love. Number 13, number 10, number 13, number 11, I deserve happiness. Number 12, I am important. And number 13, I am unique. Again, you can pick whatever affirmations you want. Maybe you align with those. Maybe you want to try them out, but they're very neutral and they're pretty expanded and they're not really linear. You know, my body does not define me. That's not talking about I need to lose X amount to feel good. My body doesn't define me, nor does your body define you. It really honestly doesn't. It's a very human level, linear aspect of us. And when you can really move beyond the body and the image and all that, things shift. That's kind of why I brought up that topic today, is because a lot of people need to shift that one. They need to just dive a little deeper into that one rather than it just being, I want to lose X amount of weight. So what affirmations do you need to start incorporating in your life? You could have affirmations like this that are, I call them generic, but they're expanded. You could have affirmations that are about the money. You could have affirmations about the actual spiritual practices or spiritual intentions that you're setting for yourself in 2022. They can totally be whatever you want. The point of it is just that when we are talking about changing our life and ascending into a higher aspect of us, we have to understand that we need to clear the vibrational aspects of us that don't serve, which are most likely our beliefs, thoughts, and stories. And one of the fastest ways to do that is to introduce new beliefs, thoughts, and stories through affirmations. And the more that you consistently look at the affirmations and incorporate them and introduce them, the more that you will become them, right? And you have to put some effort in to feel into them, but the more that you will become them, the more that you will transcend and move into the energies quicker. But also, I should just make a note as I wrap up today's episode. What you will experience is these chaotic energies aren't going away. So it's just a matter of you being grounded enough to see them neutrally, to watch them go by, even though you're in them, or you're not grounded and you're right in them and you're feeling every part of them. Regardless, they're going to show up. So it's up to you to either get grounded in them so that you're aware and you can see them and you're ready for them, or you play ignorance and you basically walk in with your blindfold on and then you wonder how the hell you got there. Okay, so remember that. The option is there for you. Either you take the time to get grounded, you start to lean into more of the spiritual practices, you give yourself forgiveness, love, and grace, or you just completely throw this out the window. You continue to live in your human linear aspect. And I hope you all the best in 2022. No, I know that you're someone who's going to choose to ascend and have more of the spiritual practices and more of the spiritual intentions moving into 2022 because you're awake. You know what's going on. But this is how you do it. So just encapsulating it all, we are moving away from linear resolutions and we are moving more into dimensional resolutions. And this completely correlates to how we are moving as a soul, how we're moving as an earth, as humans. We are ascending. So it's time to ascend. And then you'll find yourself moving New Year's after New Year's into a different way. You won't be like in the traditional mindset of New Year's resolutions. People around you will be, but you'll be like, actually, I'm way more grounded and I focus more on the spiritual, on like my higher self. And getting myself connected and really tuning in. And some people might look at you like you're crazy, but that's okay. But the more that you do this year after year, the more you'll realize you're not living in a linear reality anymore, because you're not setting goals and intentions at the beginning of the year for 12 months off of a linear mindset and landscape, right? You're already doing it in a dimensional way. Therefore, you're going to receive more of a dimensional reality. Thanks for listening to the Spiritual Show with me today. I hope you're feeling inspired, enlightened, and prepared for the upcoming 2022 year. This year is going to be a time of chaos, challenge, transformation, expansion, and new. And we cannot wait to continue supporting your awakening and ascension journey as we move into another trip around the human calendar. Join us on our next episode, where we are opening up the conversation around navigating the chaos that 2022 may bring towards you through your higher self. As always, you can head to thespiritualroom.co to sign up for the weekly spiritual communication email. As well, you can check out the links and resources we have in today's show notes. That's all for today's episode, beautiful human. See you in the next one. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram at thespiritualroom.co and on the blog at thespiritualroom.co/blog. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.